Okay, so in this video I'm going to show how to drill a hole in tile, and typically what you would have is a reason to drill a hole in tile is this would be your shower head. This is not the pipe obviously coming out of your shower head, but this would be a scutcheon that you would have on your wall. If you can imagine your wall right here, this would be your pipe that comes out to feed your shower head. So when you do tiling you need to drill a hole. This is a 1/2 inch pipe, and this would also be for your tub. So you have two holes actually if you got a tub and a shower head, and if you just have a shower alone then you're just going to have the one. But you can go to any tile supply place to get one of these. It's a diamond tipped hole cutter specifically made for tile. If you look on the edge of here, it's got little pieces of remnants of diamonds, and I guess I'm rich now, huh? So, but it's nice and sparkly, and what that does is it actually cuts through just about any tile, and porcelain specifically. All the other types of tile like travertine and stuff like that aren't quite as dense, this thing will go through like a hot knife through butter. But specifically this is meant to cut through a very dense type of product, and I love them. They come in different sizes. This particular one is a 1-inch cutter. So they have smaller ones if you should need a smaller one. They have larger ones if you should need a larger one. I think the biggest one is probably about 2 inches. You won't find one that's, you know, massive like this. I wish they would make one because I would definitely use it, say for a toilet or something like that, a toilet flange, and you need a big 5-inch circle. But I'll make a video about how to do that a little bit later on. In this particular case, we're just going to do one of these. So you see there's a little extra room here. You got 1/2 inch and then 1 inch, and there's definitely extra room, and that's what you want, because as good a measure as you are, you will probably need that little extra room in case you don't get the hole just so. So obviously you're going to measure from left to right and top to bottom and figure out exactly where your center mark is at. Once you figure out your center mark, and we're just going to make up one. Oh, by the way, this is not wood. This is porcelain, a very thick porcelain tile. And this is typically what I'm working with a lot nowadays. Not necessarily this type in a shower, but I would work with this on a floor, for example. But they have porcelain that's this thick that I put on walls all the time. So I definitely need one of these to cut a hole in here for the shower head. And so because I have this scrap laying around, I'm just going to pretend that this is going to be on a wall. And with this kit that I said you could get at a tile place, Home Depot, Lowe's, comes this little, this is how it actually is packaged, with these little double stick-on type templates, and then you have this plastic template itself that you actually glue down. So it's a double-sided little pieces of throwaway template, and they give you, looks like 6 of them. I run out of these quite quickly. You probably wouldn't, but I run out of them. And so what I typically do, instead of sticking them down, I'll just hold it there with one hand as I drill down on this, and I don't really worry about replacing these afterward. But I bought a new kit, so I do have them extra, and this is what they look like. They're just double adhesive type rubber gaskets, if you will, and they actually match up. So you see this plastic part has a little cutout, and you got a cutout right here, and so that's typically how it would go when you stick it on the back. And I'm going to go ahead and do that right now. Relatively easy process. So one of these come off like that. You stick it right on top of there, so it's a perfect match. And that's what you have. When you take off the second one, you have the same sticky type of stuff, and it's going to go right onto your tile, and it will hold this template in place as you're drilling it. It's also somewhat waterproof until you actually pull it off, and then obviously you can't use it again. The thing I like about these, it's really hard to see on video, but they have a line. So they have a line top to bottom and left to right, and those lines should be center with wherever you marked your hole. So if you marked your hole right here, or say you did a line across here and a line across here on the tile, then you would just neatly line your line up to the lines inside of here, and it makes it very easy and foolproof to get your hole right on the center. And I'm going to put it actually in the center of this tile and kind of stick it down. You put a little pressure on it, that holds it down. I mean, obviously this piece of tile is quite heavy, so it holds it down really well. And the second thing you do obviously is you get at least a 3/8 drill. This is a Ryobi. I like them. They're relatively inexpensive at Home Depot. and put it on there, make sure it's secure, and that's all there is to it. Next step you do is get some water, which I happen to have here, and you fill up this whole thing with water. And what that's going to do is going to cool down all those diamond bits so you don't chew those up doing one or two cuts. Makes it easier to cut also, but I'm doing it on plywood here so I don't drill into the back of my truck, but this is how it works. Hard to tell I was all the way through. I was all the way through. Anyway, simple as that. You saw it took probably less than a minute to make a perfect cut in your tile. And it's just really that easy. Now, this would be your shower fixture head coming out or your tub spout pipe coming out. And it's just very, very easy to do. As I said before, this is no good anymore. You would simply take that off. If you needed to use it again, simply take that off, let it dry out, and you put your second one on at that point, and you're ready to go again. As I said before, when I run out of these, or should you run out of yours or whatever, you can do it the same way I just told you. You can actually hold it down. The nice thing about the rubber is it actually holds water in pretty well, but you could theoretically get enough water to stay there just by holding it down. When you hold it down, now I didn't put water in that one, so I'm not going to go through the whole process because I don't want to eat this thing up prematurely. But you can obviously see that holding it down will still get you the hole exactly where you want it. So very, very, very handy tool to have, and I carry about 3 or 4 of these because sometimes I misplace them. So carry those wherever I go. And that's how to drill a hole in tile. If you were doing it on travertine, for example, this particular travertine is a very thicker, nicer one. The difference between travertine, a good one, and a bad one is usually the holes in the back. A bad travertine or cheap end travertine, say $1.70, $2 a square foot, is going to have a lot of these holes. It's going to look like the moon, you know, like a crater. And those tiles tend to fall apart when I cut them with my tile saw. This is a very, very dense, good travertine. It's called walnut. And I'm going to show you how quickly this goes. So if you think that was quick on the porcelain, so I'm going to do the same process. Rather than put tape on it, I'm just going to put the water there. Whoops, it just slid away. Do it down at the end here. That's it. I think that's through. Yeah, that's through. Anyway, that was even less time. That was about 30 seconds. If you noticed, when I had this on here, I was kind of moving the drill around a little bit. That's just kind of ream it out a little bit so that, you know, it'll go down nice and easy rather than start binding on the edge of the tile. But that's it. So again, another nice, perfectly cut hole in your tile, and travertine is very, very easy to cut through.